It's time to talk about the important issues for the natural state. And there's only one place to turn for that. Opportunity Arkansas's Nic Horton. You can find Nic's work at opportunityarkansas.org.
And welcome back to First News. It is just about 20 minutes in front of 8 o'clock. That means it is time to talk or have our weekly visit with the CEO of Opportunity Arkansas, CEO and founder, I should say, of Opportunity Arkansas, Nic Horton. Nic, welcome back to the show. How are you today?
Founder and CEO, technically. Actually,
I like that.
Toby,
Yeah, I didn't want to short you. I didn't want to, cut this thing in half or something,
No, I appreciate that. Listen, I worked hard for that founder's title.
That's right. Just went over the 3-year mountain. So just had the 3-year anniversary of Opportunity Arkansas. Very impressive.
We made it. It's all downhill from here.
That's right. That's what they say. But we'll see. The time will tell. Nic, you had what I would call a very disturbing post on X the other day. It was about Arkansas kids not reading at their grade level, and it showed 64% of Arkansas kids don't read at their grade level. And frankly, the numbers got even worse when you started breaking it down by school district. And so is this an indictment of public schools, or is this an indictment of parents not reading with their kids and, getting them up to that level as well with the school? Or, I mean, what's the main issue here? And more importantly, how do we reverse these numbers?
Gosh, yeah. I mean, it's such a complex but important issue, and really shocking, as you said, that nearly 2 out of 3 kids. And look, we've used this statistic for a while, that 2 out of 3 kids in Arkansas can't read at grade level. I think to some degree, those of us that work in the policy world and the public policy world have almost gotten conditioned to that. Like, 2 out of 3, because it just becomes 49th and 50th, thank God for Mississippi, right? It's just
right.
Become something we're accustomed to. But when we started looking at these numbers at a district level, then you realize that 65 to 66%, somewhere in that range, that's the average.
Right.
Well, the average means there's a lot of school districts and a lot of schools around the state that are actually significantly higher than 65%. North Little Rock School District, for example, the district-wide average is 78% of kids that are not reading ready. Little Rock School Districts, 73%. Pulaski County School District, 68.6%. And the list goes on and on and on. And it's a travesty. It's a total, to sound like President Trump, it's a total disaster.
Right.
But it really, really is. You're significantly more likely to not be able to read at grade level if you go through an Arkansas public school than you are to be able to read at grade level. And there's plenty of, to your question about indictment of like who's responsible, there's plenty of blame to go around. I think parents, obviously, and we're huge believers on in individual responsibility and the role of parents in their kids' education. So there's certainly an element of that and a personal responsibility element to this. I've got a second grader and a kindergartner now at home. We read almost every single night. We're working together to teach them how to read. We're not just putting it all on the school, right? Mm-hmm. But there is a problem. There is clearly a problem, because these are not outliers. This is a statewide problem. When the statewide average is 2 out of 3 kids, we have a massive, massive issue. And if you can't read, Toby, you can't learn.
No.
And so when you're at this grade level and you can't read what the teacher's writing on the board, you can't read the math test, you can't read anything, you're in serious trouble.
Yeah, you're just guessing. You're taking a test blind, basically. And that's that's obviously very unfortunate. Nic, do we get numbers like this from charter schools or from private schools? Do we get to see those numbers from those institutions, or is it only just the public schools because it's public?
That's a good question. I don't have that at my fingertips. I'll have to look around and see. I mean, these numbers are collected and published by the Arkansas Department of Education, I believe, on an annual basis. So I'm not sure. Private schools, probably not. Charter schools could be available. Yeah. That's certainly something. And I will say, we've got education freedom. We've got universal education freedom. We've got some new polling, by the way, Toby, that's going to be coming out that shows support for education freedom across the state of Arkansas is literally through the roof, and it's as high as it's ever been. We've polled it dozens of times, and it's going through the roof, and it's probably going to go even higher as the program gets more ingrained in our culture and in our state. that is going to help. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe, and we've talked about this a lot on your show and elsewhere, accountability, competition, multiple options for parents. No longer are you stuck in this one school district, and guess what? If their reading programs suck, if their teachers aren't good at teaching reading, if you're not getting what you need, too bad. Like, that's all you can get. That's your kid is just in that pipeline. It has no chance of getting a better education. Giving those kids as many options as possible and families as many options as possible, charters, micro schools, homeschool, private school, whatever the option is that fits their unique child, that competition and that pressure, a good pressure that public schools are now going to feel that they have to perform if they want to retain their families and their students, that's a good thing. And that will help. I truly believe that is going to solve some of this problem. But I don't think it's going to solve all of it. We've got to get this figured out and get into the root causes of why these reading scores are so bad, because we're sending kids just through this pipeline to prison, to lives of dependency, to lives of poverty. I mean, the outcomes on the back end of this, if you can't read, think about today's society, how digital everything is. The list goes on and on. If you can't read, you're going to have a really hard time working. You're going to have a really hard time being a productive member of society. And really even just living a fulfilled life. I mean, imagine, it's hard to even think about, but like, imagine if you couldn't read. Like, what's your day-to-day, how different your day-to-day life would be. It's horrible. It's horrible what we're doing to these kids. It's unacceptable what's happening here. So we're going to be doing some more work on this. You're going to see a lot more from Opportunity Arkansas in the coming days and weeks on this. This was a little bit of a teaser of some of this data to paint a picture of how bad it is. But this is one of the root causes of the problems that we have in our education system, the problems that we have in our labor force. No surprise. It should be no surprise. We have 1 in 3 people in Medicaid in the state of Arkansas because we're not preparing them to lead productive lives. And so there's a lot of blame to go around.
Sure.
Parents have a role. Public schools have a role. State government, Department of Education, and the legislature, they have a role to play. It's going to take everybody pitching in and locking arms to solve this problem.
Well, and obviously because we get to see their data, the public schools where we put our thumb right now, because that's where the data is generated from, and obviously not good data. It brings up a question that I have that was out of an article that the Demgaz wrote on Sunday. Josh Schneider wrote this article, basically asking the question to a couple of legislators on if sending tax dollars to students who are leaving the public schools because they're accessing the EFA and going through the LEARNS Act, and so their model of funding schools is obviously on a per student basis when it comes to public schools. And so, is this ruining the public school model by basically said you're going to deplete the numbers in public schools, which could, at least what the public schools are saying, will deplete their finances to where they might not be able to operate. And so, Nick, I ask you, one, is that a legitimate question, a legitimate concern? And then, what is the long-term look for public schools? I mean, will their funding be drastically cut by the LEARNS Act in the future? What's the future look like for public schools? And then when you see these types of results coming from public schools, it gets a little more bleaker.
Well, 3 things, if I can remember them all. I'll do my best. But
I can remind
most
you.
importantly, thank you. Most importantly, public schools aren't going to lose a dime so long as they perform.
Okay.
So right now, again, we've got a marketplace. Like, we're really close to having a true marketplace in the education system that we've never really had before. And so pick your school, Little Rock School District, North Little Rock, Benton, it doesn't matter. If that school performs and they meet the expectations of parents in that district, they shouldn't have a thing to worry about. They shouldn't be worried at all about losing students and losing funding from a student leaving and going to a private school. If they don't perform, then they may lose some students, right? And you're going to see some of that. But at the end of the day, if they're meeting parents' expectations, they shouldn't be worried about losing a dime of funding.
I hadn't seen it broke down into the dollar figures that you're giving. I know that in this article in the DemGaz, one of the Republican legislators that they were talking to was saying the schools aren't going to be losing all that much money. In all honesty, the Democrat was saying that this is going to decimate the public school system, but which to be expected on down the party lines. But so I mean, it's good to hear these. Here's what the numbers are. That's what I was looking for, and so I definitely appreciate you, Nick, providing some of those numbers so that we actually know what that looks like moving forward. But and obviously a lot more to unpack on this. But Nick, we've unfortunately run out of time this morning. But we'll do it again, of course, next Wednesday. Continue this conversation. And if you're looking to find some more information about Opportunity Arkansas, what they're doing, the most recent articles that they've been putting out, they've got some brand new polling on income tax reform here in the state that you should be looking at. You go to opportunityarkansas.org. You can also find them on Facebook, Twitter. They got a great YouTube channel.